They say power reveals who someone really is. In my case, I learned that the so-called power of a self-appointed HOA president was no match for the law, and that boundaries, both physical and legal, are there for a reason. Let me walk you through what happened the day the HOA president tried to barge onto my property, and how it ended with the police siding with me in front of her entire neighborhood. It all started with a knock. Not on the door. On my gate. Bang. 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 It was early morning, maybe 8 a.m., and I was halfway through replacing some fence panels on my 5-acre ranch property. The gate was locked, as always, and beyond the metal bars I saw her, Diane Keller, HOA president. Clipboard in hand. Sunglasses on. Smile like a wolf. This wasn't the first time she'd shown up unannounced. Ever since I moved in, Diane had been trying to impose HOA rules on me, even though my property wasn't under her jurisdiction. My lot was carved out decades ago, with a private access road, separate zoning, and no ties to the Meadow Trails HOA. Still, Diane couldn't resist the urge to meddle. From letters in my mailbox about grass height violations to notes telling me my fence color was a visual disruption, she was relentless. But this time, it was different. She wanted in. Open the gate, she barked, slapping her palm on the metal. No, I said, calmly walking up to the gate. This is private property. What do you want, Diane? Her nostrils flared. I've received several complaints about unauthorized construction. She waved her clipboard like it was a badge. I need to inspect your property. That made me laugh. You don't have the authority to inspect anything here, I said. You're not code enforcement. And this land doesn't belong to your HOA. Her fake smile disappeared. Are you refusing an HOA inspection? She snapped. Yes, I said. On my land? Absolutely. I'll call the authorities. I shrugged. Do it. She did. 15 minutes later, 2 sheriff deputies pulled up in a cruiser, lights off but clearly ready for something. Diane practically ran up to them like she was reporting a hostage crisis. He's refusing to let me inspect the property, she said, pointing dramatically through the gate. There's unpermitted construction, possible code violations, and he's being aggressive. I stood there with my arms crossed, watching the performance. The deputy approached the gate and motioned for me to come closer. I did. Morning, sir, he said calmly. Mind telling me what's going on? I own this property, I said. She doesn't. I'm replacing some fence panels. Everything's up to code. I've had ongoing issues with her showing up, uninvited, trying to impose HOA rules where they don't apply. The second deputy, older guy, probably been doing this for years, stepped forward. This address isn't in Meadow Trails, is it? He asked. Nope, I said, handing him a printed parcel map and copy of my deed, which I kept handy exactly for moments like this. He scanned the paperwork, then looked at Diane. You don't have any jurisdiction here, he told her plainly. He's not part of your HOA. Diane blinked. But, he's causing disturbances. I've had multiple neighbors complain. Complaints don't give you legal rights over someone's private land, the younger deputy added. Unless there's a crime, we can't force him to open the gate. And it doesn't sound like anything criminal is happening. Her face turned red. So, you're just going to let him do whatever he wants? Ma'am, the older deputy said, he's on his own property, fixing his own fence. If he's not breaking any laws, there's nothing we can do, and nothing you can do, either. Diane huffed like a child being told she couldn't have dessert. This is unbelievable, she muttered. No, I said. What's unbelievable is how far you've gone trying to control something that doesn't belong to you. At that point, the deputies gave me a respectful nod, turned to her, and said, we'll have to ask you not to come back here without permission. Continued attempts could be considered harassment. Boom. She turned and stormed off, heels clicking like gunshots down the pavement. But the story doesn't end there. About an hour later, I was back to work when my neighbor, Tom, came walking up the access trail. Tom's lived down the hill for 20 years, and he's seen his fair share of Diane's antics. Did I hear cops up here earlier? He asked. I nodded. Diane tried to force her way in again. Thought she could inspect my place. Tom chuckled. I've been waiting for someone to shut her down like that. You did good, man. Turns out, Diane had done the same thing to several other neighbors. One family was fined for leaving their garden hose visible. Another was told their welcome mat violated HOA color codes. She even tried to ticket a teenage boy for parking his bike on the sidewalk. But this time, she messed with the wrong person. I wasn't under her HOA. I wasn't subject to her petty rules. And unlike most people, I knew my rights, and wasn't afraid to enforce them. Later that week, I went down to the county planning office and requested an official zoning confirmation letter. It cost me $20 but was worth every penny. I laminated a copy, nailed it to the inside of my gate, and included a sign right beneath it. Private property, not subject to HOA regulations. Trespassers will be reported. Diane saw it the next day. She drove by slowly, windows down, reading the sign. Then, in the most cartoonishly dramatic way, she slammed her hands on her steering wheel and sped off. Neighbors said she didn't leave her house for 3 days. But it gets better. 2 weeks after the incident, I got a knock at the front door, not the gate. It was a man in a suit with a folder. "Hi, I'm with the Meadow Trails HOA," he said. "I'm the new president." "Oh really?" I said, raising an eyebrow. "What happened to Diane?" "She stepped down," he replied quickly. "There were complaints." I invited him in, offered coffee, and we talked. He admitted that Diane had been abusing her position. She'd issued unauthorized citations, intimidated homeowners, and misrepresented HOA boundaries. Several people had formally reported her, and the sheriff incident at my gate was the final straw. The new president was different. Reasonable. Respectful. He confirmed again that my land was outside their jurisdiction and that I would receive no further correspondence from the HOA. That felt like the final victory. Since then, life's been peaceful. My fence is done. I've added a fire pit, a vegetable garden, even a workshop on the edge of the property. Neighbors wave when they pass. Some even stop by to chat or bring baked goods. And Diane? Well, rumor is she's trying to join the HOA board in the next town over. God help them. Here's the lesson: when someone comes at you with fake authority, don't just cave. Know your rights. Know your property lines. And if someone bangs on your gate demanding power they don't have, you shut it in their face. Respectfully. Legally. Firmly. And if the cops show up, you hand them the deed and watch the power trip crumble on the spot. Because ownership isn't just a matter of property. It's a matter of standing your ground.